We're going to walk through what to do in the first week that you have a brand new piece. I'm going to talk about what to do each of the first 5 days. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to do from the moment you get the music for your new piece. We've got a lot to cover here, so let's get started. I made a free downloadable PDF that goes with this video. It goes over all the steps I'm going to outline here. You can download it and follow along as you watch the video. Just grab it by scanning this QR code right here or download it using the link that I'm going to put in the description right below this video. On the first day with your brand new piece, your goal is going to be to get an overview of the whole entire piece. I always like to recommend that students start by sight reading through the whole piece from beginning to end. Now, I got to tell you, this can be pretty messy, which is why a lot of people avoid doing this because it is not going to sound particularly good. It's usually pretty chaotic and often not pretty. That's why I call this bashing through the piece. So on day one, go ahead and just bash through your brand new piece. Now, why do you think I recommend forcing yourself to play all the way through a piece that you haven't learned yet? Well, bashing through a piece helps you see the nature of your whole project. Once you've touched every section, however briefly, you already are getting a sense of the whole entire thing and you're not feeling like there are unknown pages somewhere lurking ahead. Anyway, after you've bashed through the piece one time, it's time to put on your headphones and do some listening. Find at least 3 professional recordings of your piece and listen to them while following along in your score. As you listen, get a sense of your first impressions of the piece. This is a great opportunity to approach the piece the way your listeners will when they hear you play it. Notice how different sections make you feel. Notice if you hear any surprises or if there are parts that you particularly find beautiful, because that's going to help you as you're working on the piece. I like to think of this initial listening session as looking at the picture on the puzzle box before you start working the puzzle. It's so much easier to stay motivated when you have a sense of what the complete image is going to look like. So that's your job on day one. Bash through the piece once and listen to 3 recordings of it while following along in the score. On day 2, we're going to do a little bit of analysis and start figuring out how this piece is put together. Today's goal is to understand the piece's overall architecture before you get bogged down by details or practicing difficult technical spots. It can be helpful to think about the process of learning a new piece as similar to building a house. You need to look at the blueprint first, then you build the foundation, then you frame it, then you put the walls in, and only after the house is basically built do you start hanging curtains and decorating. What we're going to do at this stage, before you've even started learning the notes, is look at the blueprint for the house. Start by listening to a recording of the piece from beginning to end and marking the big sections. You can use music theory to mark them in sections like ABA or exposition, development, and recapitulation, or introduction, main section, contrasting section, and coda, but you don't have to know any music theory at all to do this part. Anytime the music clearly changes character, texture, or key, that's a clue that you might be in a new section. While you're listening, pay attention to how the piece is put together. Notice where the material repeats or where it comes back in maybe slightly different ways. Is the opening theme repeated anywhere else in the piece? It probably is. And when it's repeated, is it the same as the first time or is it in a different key when it comes back? Mark those spots, mark those returns, mark those variations in your music. This helps you see that the piece is really made of a small amount of material that the composer keeps returning to and changing over the course of the piece. As you listen to the piece, also mark important cadences. And a cadence is really just where it sounds like the music comes to an end, sort of like a period at the end of a sentence. A strong cadence often tells you that one section has come to a close and another one is about to begin. Double bars, changes in time signature or key signature are also very good signals that you've entered a new section there. So by the end of day 2, you should be able to look at your score and understand the main sections, recognize the main themes, and have a basic sense for some of the ways the composer changed and varied the material. All right, on day 3, we're going to zoom in a little bit more and start doing a more detailed analysis. Today, we're going to look more closely at the structural materials the composer used to build the piece. We're going to look at the harmony, the bass line, and patterns. You can do this work at the piano or away from it. I find it personally most helpful to sit at the piano with a score and a pencil handy so that I can mark things in the music and play little bits to check them and listen to them as I go. First of all, we're going to look at the harmony of the piece. Now, don't worry, even if you haven't learned music theory, you can still benefit from doing this step. Basically, although every piece is written in a particular key, which you can see by looking at the key signature, there are many places in a musical composition where the music visits another key, even though the key signature doesn't change. So today, you're going to look for some of those places where the piece moves to a new key area or where the composer writes different chords. You don't have to do a full theory analysis, but you can mark places where the key changes or where you clearly feel tension and release in the harmony. Clues that you can use are when the composer introduces accidentals, this is often indicating a new key area. Yesterday, we looked at the important cadences and you marked them in your score. You can now find those chords and label them as, for example, D major or F minor, just simply labeling them in your music. So for example, in this Mozart Sonata, K332, so it starts off F major. And then we have a second theme that goes, so that is in C major. Some clues that we are in C major is we have the B natural, that leading tone to C, that tells us, okay, we're in C major now. So you can use your ears and your eyes and your hands a little bit to explore what is happening in the music and start writing in just chord names. And if you do have more of a theory background, you can write in new key areas and then any dominant or subdominant or tonic chords, which is 1, 4, and 5. So do your best with that step and you'll learn more and more about the piece as you practice it. The next thing you want to do is spend a little bit of time with the bass line. Again, you can listen to the piece and follow along with the lowest voice, or you can practice it, like look through it and just play the left hand, or even just the lowest voice. Notice if it moves stepwise, such as moving up, or if it's moving in some kind of pattern, like here we have this broken chord pattern. So notice what's happening with the bass line. Is it going down to the bottom of the piano? Is it moving through the circle of fifths? Notice how that works because that's the foundation that the whole piece is built on. If you see the left hand in some kind of accompanimental pattern, you can block the chords. So here I have, and I can see the chord is blocked this way, and then so just doing that will help you to hear the chord progression as you play the chords blocked. The third thing you want to do on day 3 is look for patterns. Music is full of patterns, and once you start looking for them, you're going to realize that a piece which first looked like thousands of random notes is actually made up of a handful of ideas that keep coming back in slightly different ways. So start with the opening theme or melody and go ahead and mark it, because that's what the composer decided to start with. That signals that this is one of the most important themes of the whole piece. So I'm going to look through my music and I'm going to find where does it come back. And I see it comes back in 132. And then I'm going to say, okay, well, that's interesting. In this case, it's what we call the recapitulation, and it comes back in exactly the same way. Then I can notice that my second little musical idea is high, and it's all little chords that the hands play together. And it's got that dotted rhythm. So that's kind of cute. So let me look and see if that comes back. And in fact, it does exactly right after that in the recapitulation in 145. Right. And so like, okay, cool. I'm learning all this interesting stuff. Another thing to look for today are repeated sections that you uncovered yesterday. There are often passages that are almost exact copies of each other, just moved to a new key, or maybe even in the same key. After you do this work by the end of day 3, you should have a much clearer sense that the piece is made of patterns and harmonic ideas that you can understand, and you starting to get a deeper feeling of how it's put together. This is you thinking like a composer, and it's actually going to make learning the notes a lot easier because you're seeing familiar landmarks everywhere you play. So that shift alone can make a bigger project feel so much more approachable. All right, on day 4, you're gonna finally start putting your hands more on the keyboard and start making some concrete decisions about exactly how you're gonna physically play this piece. The focus today is on choosing fingering in important places and beginning to think through your technical approach. So the first thing you're gonna do today is you're gonna play through the piece, but not all, you're not gonna bash through it. You're gonna just practice through it. And as you do, write in some fingering. You don't need to write fingering over every single note, but look for places where the fingering is not intuitive and then start to write it in there. This is something you can always change later, so don't stress out too much about this, but the idea is to practice your way through the piece, writing in some fingering for yourself. The next thing you're going to do today as you practice through the piece is you're going to really start focusing in on technically difficult spots. Now that you've listened to it so many times and you've been doing some practice on it, you're already going to start to have a sense for where are the hardest spots. Then go through them today and start to think about how you're going to solve them. You don't have to have all the answers, but notice, like, is the issue on this piece going to be the fact that there are long trills, or is it going to be like big leaps, or what exactly are these technically difficult spots demanding of me? That's going to help you when you start working on it because you'll be starting to make a plan. And then the other thing that you'll do on this day as a kind of preparation is get a musical context for the piece. You're going to want to listen to some other pieces that the composer wrote around the same time as this piece. Now, fortunately, we have a lot of information online where you can quickly research. What I like to do is suggest to people that they go to Wikipedia and then look at the list of compositions that the composer wrote, and they'll have a year for them, and look for the year that your piece is written, and then look at what else was written around that same time. This piece does not exist in a vacuum. It is part of a composer's larger musical output, and starting to understand how this piece fits into that is very helpful. Of course, another important part of this is if you are working on, for example, one movement of a sonata, make sure you listen to the whole sonata, even if you're only doing one movement. Another thing that would be good is listening to other pieces of the same kind by that composer. So for example, if you're working on a Bach invention, listen to all of the Bach inventions so that as you're playing, it'll be more in your ear and you'll be able to more intuitively understand and make musical decisions. By the end of day 4, you're gonna choose fingering throughout the piece. You're going to notice the most difficult spots and start to think them through. And you're going to start to listen more broadly in order to understand the musical language of this piece and the musical context it was written in. All of this is going to make the next stage of learning the notes so much easier and more efficient. All right, now by the time you've done all of this in your first 4 days with a piece, you're going to have something incredibly valuable. You're going to have a lot of information about the piece. You're going to understand the piece in a way that you would not have if you had just started with the first note and learned one line at a time. You've heard the whole piece multiple times. You've marked the technically difficult spots and you understand your danger zones. You've spotted rhythms and patterns and repetitions, and you've done enough analysis to understand some of the basic harmonic language, and you have learned about the context that the piece was written in. And so day 5 is when you're going to start making a plan to learn the piece. What I like to do is learn a piece from the end, divide the piece into sections, and I start at the end and I work backwards and label the sections with letters. Then those become my learning sections. Then what I can do is in my practice notebook, I can write down my sections and start learning the piece from the end. Really working on repeating each thing well, working on playing everything musically as I learn it, and trying to take it at a tempo and at a level that I can retain it, avoiding a lot of mistakes at the very beginning of the process in order to set a really good foundation. Another thing to do on this 5th day, besides actually dividing into sections and start learning from the end, is to go through from the beginning and kind of start thinking about the character of each theme. You can think about adjectives like it's playful, or it's stormy, it's angry, or it's joyful. What I'd like you to do is start to think about, what does this music mean? What do I want to communicate when I can play this at my best level? Another thing you can do at this stage is write out a story that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and basically take your character through the piece so that they're experiencing it. Learning music at the piano is all about project management, just like building a house. To do that, you need to think big picture, and you need to learn how to set effective goals. So for a deep dive into setting goals, you might want to check out this video right up there, where I break down the process of setting goals over a 3 to 6 month period for your daily practice. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please share it with someone who you think will find it useful. I'll see you in the next video, and happy practicing.